Yes, our God will finish what He started. Oh, this is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, if I'm not led, you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Oh, I'm still breathing. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, you're not done. I know greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. Oh, I'm alive. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Yeah. Oh, oh, hey. Oh.
Hello and good morning to everybody, the Harbor Online crew. We are so glad that you're here and you're watching with us. My name is Allison. I just want to say a special welcome and hello to everybody watching, and especially to you guys if you're new or you're new-ish. If you're just checking us out for one of the first times, we want to say just welcome and thank you so much for joining in on the fun. We have something to give you. A gift, actually, just to say thank you and to welcome you to the Harbor fam a little bit. So there's a link in the video description and we'll drop it in the comments right now. Fill that out. It's a connection card. It's just something that we can connect with you through, get some information and how we can support you, how we can be your church family. We'd love to do that for you. So click on that and we'll send you a gift just to say thanks for no reason. All right, guys, I want to let you know, first of all, we are having, this is the first week of our At the Movies series. It's going to be awesome. Every week we are checking out a popular movie that maybe you've seen, maybe you haven't, and we're going to relate it back to how faith and film can kind of intersect and we can learn a pretty cool lesson. So to celebrate that, we are having outdoor movie nights every Thursday night in August. That is right. We are going to have a big screen in the parking lot after our Thursday service. So about 8:15 or so, we're going to be showing the film that we talk about that weekend. So it starts this coming Thursday night, and we're going to be watching The Greatest Showman. It's going to be so fun. It's going to be awesome. I think you should be there, and I think you should come prepared to sing along because it's a pretty fun film. So mark your calendars, and it's not just this coming Thursday. It's every Thursday night in August. It's going to be an awesome time for you to come with your friends, with your family, and check that out and just have a good time. Come to church or just come to the outdoor movie night, and then if you're planning to watch online or come on Sunday morning. So mark those calendars. Check out our website and our social media for the full schedule of our movies. And I also want to let you know that on August 15th, we are having a Rooted night, and we're also going to be doing baptisms at the beach, at Craigville Beach. So we're really excited about this. This is these are two really special times that our church family can get together to celebrate each other, to take communion together, and to just talk about church stuff and talk about our faith. So if you are part of the Harbor family, I would definitely encourage you to put that on the calendar. That's Sunday, August 15th. In the evening, and it's going to be at Craigville Beach. And if you are somebody who has been interested in baptism, if you have given your life to Jesus and you are wondering what the next step is, spoiler alert, it is probably baptism. So check out our website. We'll drop the link in the video comments right now, and go to that link, fill out the page, and we'll get in contact with you and to see if baptism is the next step for you. And we'd love to be a part of that story for you. All right, guys, it is the first week at the movies. It's going to be an awesome one. So grab that coffee, settle in, make sure and comment along with us, and let's get into the message.
Come on. Woohoo! I know some of you don't know me, and that's okay. But if you do know anything about me, you know that this is the series that I have been waiting for so long. I've been pastoring now for almost 5 years, and I don't know that there's been 2 weeks that I've ever gone without saying a movie reference at some point in one of my messages. You may not have got it. As a matter of fact, I know that most of you don't get them, but that's okay. I love using movies and quoting them, and we have done something like this. We did a Christmas movie series once. And that just whet my appetite. And I was like, we've got to do an at the movies. And so, man, I'm so excited that Harbor gets to do this. This is our first time kicking this off. So those of you that are watching online, check us out on YouTube or Facebook. If you're listening to this on the podcast, my name is Josh. I'm the senior pastor here at Harbor. And man, I'm thrilled that you're with us. This might be your first time ever at Harbor, or your first time ever at any church. Thank you. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for being a part of it. And as I said, this weekend is the first time ever that we're going to do this movie series. We got several movies lined up. You may have noticed the free popcorn and candy and sodas out in the lobby. I didn't think I'd ever hear the jingle, "Let's all go to the lobby," in a church, but like it works, So I hope you got some of that, and you can just sit back. We're going to be using movie clips every week to kind of just pull some of the truth, because I believe all truth is God's truth, and so we'll find the truth from these movies, and see some faith in film, as the intro video said. Now, here's what I've got for you. I've been looking for this for so long, so you know that today is very special, mostly because I've never been as excited for a series as I am for this one, and I am not going to be preaching this weekend's series. And one, I've never not preached 2 weeks in a row. It's never happened at Harbor, but you guys got to hear from Pastor Sean last week, and this week you get to hear from somebody else. And if you think that that's an easy thing for me, it is not, because this is the first one of a movie series that we're doing. So you know that this guy has to be good and has to be special. I am going to have one of my longest friends. This guy I've been friends with since my freshman, no, I think I've been friends forever with him. Yeah, we've known each other for a long time. I'll show you a picture of his family. Here's his family. This is Pastor Wes and his wife Diana and their kids. And they are church planters down outside of Orlando in Winter Garden, Florida. And they pastor Harbor.Church in Winter Garden, Florida. And man, they they are killing it, and their church has been such a blessing to Harbor. Their church supports Harbor, supported us before we ever became a church. They took us on and said, hey, we want to help you guys. So they're a year older than us, and they have been supporting us since the very beginning. And man, what a blessing to have them. And as I said, Wes has been a great friend of mine. You already met one of my other best friends from Florida, Pastor Joey. Wes is my other best friend. I've got two best friends. You've met Joey. Now you get to hear from my other best friend, Wes Beecham, as he comes. And I mean, we go way back. I mean, way back. Way back. That's not us. That's some babies I found, but, you get the point. All right, so Harbor, this is my best friend. He's an amazing preacher. He's been loving us up, and he's here tonight. He's here to bless us. Come on up, Wes. Come preach for us. Love you, bro.
Pray for your pastor. What is wrong with him? I was telling, I met a guy today, I said the biggest dumpster fire in the room just walked off the stage. I mean, he is, hey, everybody, Joe, Killer mentioned this. Oh, let me back that thing up real quick. We went to college together, and we played basketball together. They will maybe will tell you later. I say we played basketball. I was on the team. I did not play. but Josh did, and I can't tell you exactly why, but he got the nickname Killer. And so my default term of endearment and his name for me has been Killer my whole entire life. That's all I know is. And so he just preached for our students last week, and they're like, I can't wait for Pastor Killer to come back. Pastor Killer to come back. It sounds like a gang name, Pastor Killer Kill. You don't know exactly what you're like. If you're supposed to go to church or you're supposed to run, And all the guys in my church are constantly packing, so I don't know, don't shoot him. He's very, very nice. But as Josh showed you guys a picture of us, that's not us. But I'll be honest with you, he only has two friends, and I get the privilege. He said that. He said, I want to have two friends. I get the privilege of being his only black friend. And so I just appreciate that. And some of you guys are like, I didn't know. Some of y'all are thinking, he doesn't even look black. Like, how many black guys with skinny jeans and a flower shirt on? I'm like, here I am. My dad's black, and so a lot of people walk up to me in Orlando for like, yo, habla español? I said, no, habla español. And I get that all the time. And I said, no, my dad's black. My mom is white. That makes me a Half-African American, Half-African. And so I'm glad to be here. We vacationed for 3 days last week, and I heard Luke say to his sister, Uncle Wes, he's black. And I'm not mad at you because when my kids turned about 4, they realized our dad's black. That confused them. Now they're because I'm half and my wife is full white, and that just makes them quarter blacks. That's just all they are, just quarter blacks. Some of y'all will get that later. Sometimes it hits right. I know that's not going to work at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. But we're glad you're here today. Wherever you find yourself watching online today, we're glad you're here today. I want to honor your pastor, and I'm so thankful for his friendship. Whenever he said, hey, I'm launching this church, we were still trying to figure out how to make ends meet at our church. But I told my team, and I told my wife, I said, we're going to support this church because something incredible is going to happen on the Cape because of this church. I believe in him. Yeah. She's excited. I'm excited. A few other people got excited later on, and but I just knew. And so we were sitting this past week, and I just talking about the church. But there's no one who loves you more than this guy right here. And he and his wife are incredible people. They're my friends, and I just love them so much. And he spoke at our church on Sunday morning. Our church is like, so do you think maybe he could come more? I'm like, I don't know how to take that. They're not like as straight up as you guys, but they're like, take it how you heard it. I said, well, I'm not going there. I came and visited. I came to church here in December. I landed, and as we're about an hour away, I looked on social media, and it said church is closed. And I'm like, if I'm driving this freaking snow, these guys need to drive in this snow, And so we didn't get to be here, but I've wanted to be at this church to come visit you guys for a long time. And if you're visiting for the first time, I met my friend in the lobby today. I met some people from Orlando today. Please come back next week. Josh, who pastors this church, he's a way better preacher. He's not as good looking as I am, but he preaches better. You know what I'm saying? I walked in earlier and someone goes, oh, they brought Will Smith in for tonight. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me at all. I have some Aladdin gear. I have some Aladdin gear for Sunday. My wife is sending it to me. I think she actually got me the Jasmine costume. I don't know. So you may want to come back and or watch later. If you're watching online, who knows what I'll be wearing by the time you watch this. Hey, we were in a series called At the Movies. And I just want you guys to know that Jesus used a lot of stories all throughout Scripture. And then he tied it in. He's like, hey, let me tell you the story about this. And, okay, this is what this means. Or here's a story about this tree. We saw the video, the idea of getting involved in rooted. You ought to come to rooted. You ought to figure out what rooted is and make sure you get to rooted. Like there's this tree and it means this. Or there's a story of this lady, but it meant this. And so everywhere we go, we're watching movies. And we're watching stories, and God's teaching us things all throughout the history. And everywhere you go, God is constantly trying to teach you something. As the enemy is trying to pull you away, Pastor Josh taught our church so eloquently this weekend. Every time the enemy is trying to pull you in this direction, God's trying to pull you in this direction. And he's allowing you to be a part of the story. So while we're going to watch movies the next couple of weeks here at church and pull out some principles, I want you to know people are watching your life just like it is a movie. And my prayer for you is that they're pulling out principles from your life. They're saying, oh, man, I like that. There's something different about her. There's something different about him. There's something different about that church. They're not just like every other church. There's something different going on there. I mean, the dumpster fires were this high, but because of Jesus, they're just a little bit lower. Come on, somebody. We're just hoping and praying that when I see your story, man, I like that. You've heard old preachers say this before, but you're the only Bible that somebody else is going to read. I love that. What I heard this one time. I can't remember. It's been so long ago. But that phrase that it says, preach the gospel, and when necessary, use words. And the point is this, that your life should be a story. People say, man, I want to be a part of that. I want to be connected. Whatever they're connected to, I'm interested. I want to buy that. I want to buy that T-shirt. Whatever it is that they're doing, I want to be a part of that. So we're kicking off this series tonight with the movie Aladdin. You guys know the deal with Aladdin. You've seen the movie, 1992. Some of y'all can't appreciate that. You ain't running around then. I love when the kids in my church are like, hey, did you see that new movie? I'm like, what's it called? It's called Aladdin. I'm like, no, sir. No. No in English and no in Spanish. No. So let me do a poll real quick to see where we're at. How many of you guys saw the 1992 version of it? Okay, cool. Put your hands down. How many of you guys seen this modern take on it? Okay, cool. How many of you guys believe the 1992 version is better than the newer version? Come on. Everyone that's raised your hands going to heaven. Come on, somebody. Got them. The newer version to me is not as good as the original version, but we love that part of the movie that we all see, and every girl wishes that they were on that magic carpet ride with Aladdin. And those words say, I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? Come on. I can open your eyes, take you wonder by wonder, over, sideways, and under a magic carpet, right? And this is my favorite part. When you get later down and it gets to that chorus, and it says, a whole new world. And then Aladdin says, don't you dare close your eyes. I love that little ad lib right there. And then you're hooked. You're I am not going to. And every girl wishes they would marry an Aladdin, but since 1992, no woman has ever found an Aladdin. No one's ever dated a guy named Aladdin, but we can learn some things from this movie today, and we're going to pull out some truths, and I hope you can take some notes, but I want you to get excited and get on the edge of your seats, because this week's movie is Aladdin. Take a look. Aladdin and Jasmine, they meet, and both of them not revealing who they really are, both pretending to be someone that they're not. They both get into that moment where they say we feel like we're trapped, like we were born into this, and they can't escape it. And then I love that last line there where that guy almost runs into Aladdin. He says, you are born worthless and you will die worthless. I don't know about you, but there's been times in my life where I felt like nobody knew the real me. I felt like I was kind of stuck. There was a season in my life when I don't even think I knew the real I don't even think I knew the real me. There was a high school, when I was in high school, I remember my dad used to punish me from church because there was a school West, there was a church West, and then there was a school church West, and there was a home West. 3 different Wests. And I got stuck not knowing. I get to college really not even knowing what my full identity really is. And we feel like sometimes, like, man, when we talk about this joke about this dumpster fire, we were on vacation last week, and Diana saw the social media and said, man, those shirts are so cool. And this church, I love this, just regular people. But every single one of us are trying to figure out who we really are. And then what happens is that sometimes people, like in this show, somebody slaps a label on us, and then we begin to live out the label that somebody else put on us. No one likes to be labeled. We grew up confused. I had coffee with the young man just this past week, and I said, man, why do you like our church? He said, when I was 15 years old, my mom kicked me out of my house. He goes, I like this church because I feel accepted, I feel included into this church. That's the kind of church that this is. And so I love this idea. Write this down if you're taking notes. Say, God knows the real you. I think it amazes me sometimes, and sometimes in my life, I didn't even know the real me, but even when I didn't know the real me, God knew the real me. And maybe when I'm hanging out with people and spending time with them, they may not know the real me, and I may not know the real me, but God knows the real you. The Bible says in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, I knew you. Wes Beecham, I knew you. Josh Adams, I knew you. Spencer, I knew you. John, I knew you way before you were even in your mother's womb. I knew you way back, like way, way, way back. Before you were born, I set you apart. And I appointed you as my prophet to the nations. God's saying to Jeremiah, I knew you for a long time. And just like God knew Jeremiah for a long time, I want you to know God has known you for a really long time. He knew you before you knew yourself. He knew you before you knew your future version of yourself. One of the reasons why we pastor these churches, why we start this church, is because we're so interested in seeing what God can do in your future. Some of you guys, you walked in here, you're broken and kind of falling apart, and we thought, when we saw you, we're like, man, God's going to do something incredible in that person's life. And here's what we knew, what Josh and I knew, and what these leaders of this church know, your pastors and directors know, that God did a work in them, He wants to do a work in you. God knows the real you. And there is a person in this movie that I think we've all been looking and wanting to meet. Let's meet the genie. The genie wishes, I love Will Smith in this movie. He's so funny. But the genie wishes to be human. And he says in there, man, I want to be free. I would really like to not be told what to do and kind of be puppeted around and kind of set in this direction and being tossed to and fro and having to listen to everything that everybody has to say to me. And Aladdin says, well, then you should set yourself free. But if you've lived long enough, you realize by now it's been impossible to set yourself free. I was in the airport today, and I had a shirt on that says "No excuses," and in the it's my Hope.Church's my Hope.Church's logo. It's our logo, and right there it says "No excuses." The lady says, "I like your shirt." And that's a really nice shirt. I said, oh, thank you so much. And she said, I need that for my kids. I'm like, I need that for my church staff. You know what I'm saying? That's why I wear it. My church staff, they're like my kids. Our next gen guy is 23. Our first impressions girl, she's 23. And one of our worship leader, he's 25. Our musical director, he's 24. Like, they're all young. I'm like, this is for my team. So my team sees this. They know that there's no excuses. She said to me something today. I said, well, man, so cool. Thanks a lot for the compliment. So I got on the airplane from LaGuardia over to Boston. I got out of the airplane. I go out. I go to the bathroom. I walk outside, and here comes the lady. And she goes, sir, I got to find your church's website. I want to listen to the messages of your church. I'm like, man, that's so cool. Here's what it is. I said, well, let me know your story. She goes, I grew up Catholic, and I've tried everything. I got to a point in my life where I was so broken and put in pieces. And she goes, and honestly, what I was getting there it wasn't enough to fulfill me or to change my life. She goes, I knew I needed something greater than religion. I knew I needed something greater than just showing up and going to church. She goes, I knew I needed Jesus. She drives 3 hours to church each way, you guys, because where she's at, she goes, I got to get there because I need Jesus. She goes to this church. She goes, man, when I get there, God begins to speak to me right then. I say, you need to find a church closer. Come on, I know you love Jesus, but that's a long way to haul. Man, she goes, I needed something different. Everything the world is offering us is stripping us up from being the real us. Well, let me give you some good news. If you came here today kind of broken and kind of put together, like you're like, I'm not so sure I belong here, I want to let you know this, that you can be the real you with God. Like, He's not like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe he did that. He's never said that. He's never said, man, I cannot believe that she thought that. You thought that? Guys, if you're married in here today, I've said something to my wife. She's like, that's what's going on inside your brain. She said, is that all you ever think about? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, that and food. That and food. You know, like, she's like, I can be the real me with God. This past week, I said, God, I'm just really struggling. I'm just having a hard time. Like, I need some help. Like, things around me, they look like they're going pretty good. And maybe people outside are like, man, good. It looks like things are going great for you. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, Pastor West. All the things. But I'm like, God, I'm dealing with some things on the inside that I just need you to help me with. I can be the real me with God. Like, God knows. I don't have to keep any secrets from God. You know, you ought to get in a group. If you're not in a group at this church, you ought to get in a group. And if you get in that group, you ought to be transparent. Because the greater you are transparent, the greater you can become free. And more free people can free more people. Like, you should say, hey, man, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm really thinking. You're like, that's what you're really thinking? My wife said to me one time, I really wish I knew what was going on inside your brain. I said, you do not want that. You will be so confused. Like, you can be the real you with God. Like, there's nothing that you've ever done where God's like, I cannot believe he or she has done that. You can be the real you. In this movie, all throughout, Aladdin keeps on digging deeper and deeper. And he finds out who Jasmine is eventually, and she still hasn't found out who he really is. Let's take a look at their story. The genie wants so bad for Aladdin to be the real him. He wants him so bad to quit pretending to be something that he is not. I don't know about you in here today, but I've done some pretending in my life. What I've learned is that pretending is always exhausting. I love what my friend told me one time. He's like, if you've always said the truth, you want to remember what you said. Man, pretending is so hard. It's so exhausting. Hey, God bless you, brother. I'm doing good. You know you're not. You're not doing good. Just say, I'm struggling. Well, some of the most freeing things I've learned in my 30s is the phrase, I'm struggling. I don't know about you, but that actually makes me feel good. It actually makes me feel good. When I got in the car with Pastor Josh today, and we looked up, and he's like, oh, there's an accident up here. We're going to have to take the long way. I thought, well, that's another hour I can be more and more transparent. Because God's trying to chip off some things in my life. He's trying to break some things away from my life. But Aladdin keeps on going deeper and deeper and pretending to be something that he's not. And Genie reminds him, the more you gain by pretending, the less you have. The more you gain by pretending, the less you have. Write down this. Galatians chapter 1, verse 10 says this. Obviously, I feel like I'm listening to one of my kids. My daughter's 13. She's like, obviously, Dad. And I got a 6-year-old. She's even sassier than the 13-year-old. She's like, whatever, Dad. She just goes twisting off. Like, what's wrong with you? You know, like... I grew up, anybody grew up getting a spanking? Come on, somebody. I'm just for bringing that back. I'm starting a movement called bring back. My wife said to me today, she goes, hey, hon, did you ever get timeout? I said, honey, I got knocked out. It's different. It's a whole, I grew up in this school of, my dad would say to me, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out. And we believed him. We knew our dad would take us. We knew our dad would take us out. But I love Galatians. He said, obviously, Paul says, obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people. I don't know about you, but we need some more Pauls in our day. We need some more people saying, I'm tired of winning. I'm so tired of putting filters on. I'm so tired of having a highlight reel, but at home being super, super, super struggling and not telling anyone about it. Like I'm so tired. I'm so tired of people like having this front on and this face on where they're walking in with the church and they're smiling and there's the kids and their life's about they're like one thing away from falling apart, but everybody thinks that they're doing okay. Pretending is exhausting. And the Apostle Paul says, I'm not trying to get the approval of anybody. That was my problem. That was my struggle. I grew up in a house where my dad was abusive to my mom, and I saw my dad have girlfriends, and I saw my dad drink way too much, and I just grew up in that. And so I was so confused. So I'm like, I got to pretend. And my dad said this at our house. My dad always said this. There was a phrase in our house that I remember to this day, and I've tried to break this curse. My dad used to say this, what happens in our house stays in this house. I was afraid to tell anybody. So what my dad didn't know what he was doing is he was teaching me to pretend. He was teaching me to pretend like everything's okay. Then I got to church. I grew up in this church where everybody wore shirts and ties, and they looked good, but they were not good. I knew some of the people, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to find out if someone's good, you just go to their house. You just go and talk to their kids. Kids are great. They'll tell you everything. Let's be honest. When I want to start really getting to know about the people in my church, I'm just going to start serving in kids' church. What's it like being a kid? You know, like I was talking to a guy the other day. I'm a chaplain for the police department over where I live at, and the guy that's the other chaplain, he's a black guy, and he's raised kids like me, half black, half white. And he said, man, I'd love to talk with you and kind of figure out. I lived my whole life pretending. When I grew up playing basketball in the neighborhood my dad grew up at, I was too white to play with the kids, the black kids. And then I would go with all my white friends at this Christian school that I went to, and I was too black. I never got that before, but I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like I found myself in this state of where I'm just always pretending. And so once I learned to pretend, then I just learned everywhere I would go, I would just pretend. Just pretend. Never ever being real with myself. Never ever being real with God. I was a Christian. I was saved, but I wasn't free because I was walking around trying to be religious. I was at a church where he wouldn't even say the word beach. He would just point out east. If you're going out there, you're a heathen. He talked about how if you the church I grew up at, he believed if you weren't singing the songs in the hymn book, then you were doing the wrong thing. He was preaching against screens. If he knew I had movies and if I was preaching movies, he'd be so mad at me. I found myself pretending. If you're pretending, it doesn't last long. Eventually you crack. Eventually you crack and you fall apart. So the Apostle Paul says, obviously, bro, like I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but I'm trying to please the Lord. That's what I want to do. I want to please the Lord. If pleasing people were my goal, I would not be Christ's servant. Apostle Paul said, I am Christ's servant. I'm not trying to please anybody. I just decided at our church, one of our core values is we aim to please God, and that's it. That's just what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I want my wife to do. That's what I want my kids to do. We just want to please the Lord. That way my kids can say whatever my kids see at home, they can say this is what my dad did at home. When I go to the restaurant, when you see me at the restaurant, I'm the same way that I am on and off the stage, on and off this platform. I'm just going to be who I am. I'm not going to pretend. The day I decided to quit pretending was the day that I started living. It felt so dang good. It felt so good to not have to try to pretend and try to figure out, I'm like, okay, I'm with them. Okay, let me see what they like, and then I'm going to do what they like, and I'm with them, I'm going to see what they, and we get so caught up in that. And the Aladdin, he's that, and he doesn't know that he could just be free. Honesty will take you a lot further than dishonesty. Here's what I know also. Obedience will take you a lot further than disobedience. Everything in this book that Pastor Josh preaches from every single week, it's there to help you. It's not there to hurt you. Here's what I always tell my church. I'll tell people, you need to give at church. That's what I tell them. You got to give at church. And I said, you want to know why you should give at church? And they say, why? Because Jesus gave his life for us. He gave. And then I say, you want to be in a small group. Sometimes I yell at them. I'm a visitor here, so I'm going to be like, you need to be in a small group, community group, fellowship group. And they're like, why? They're like, obviously. And I'm like, why would we need to be because Jesus was in a small group. You should serve. I'm too busy, Pastor West. Why would I serve? Because Jesus came to serve. Like everything we're asking you to do, church, Harbor, Christian here today, visitor for the first time, everything we're asking you to do, we're just asking you to do things so you can be more and more like Jesus. I don't know about you, but that's freeing to me. Because then I can mess up and God can be like, when I mess up with Jesus, I don't have to go to pretending because he knows the real me. I've already been set free. The Bible says in John chapter 8, if the Son sets you free, then you're free indeed. No more pretending. You can just be the real you. And so when you miss the mark, God can be like, hey, cool, you missed the mark. Let's keep on going. And when you miss the mark, if I'm in a relationship with her or I'm in a relationship with him, they can say, hey, it's okay, you missed the mark. Let me link up with you. Let me keep on going. I turned 39 yesterday, and my wife made all my kids say, everybody say something you like about Dad. There wasn't a whole lot, to be honest with you. So I jumped in, Josh. I'm like, let me say what I like about you guys. And my 6-year-old, she loves, I said, what I love about Selah is my 6-year-old, and she has a twin brother. And if you're like, oh man, I wonder why he has twins. And I figured it out. God gives twins to people who sinned a lot in their life. And that's just where I was at. I've come a long way, but I got a long way to go also. He's like, here's your punishment. I'm kidding. That's not the grace of God. There's no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. Like I preach the same verses you guys preach and live out. But she loves to hold my hand. What I love about God is that I just know that no matter where I'm at, what I'm doing, he just wants to hold my hand. I don't have to pretend. He just says, hey, I want to go. I'm with you. Like, we can do this together. Like, I got your back. Like, I know you missed the mark, but I'm okay with that because you're not you're not Jesus. And until we get to heaven, we tell our church all the time, it's progress, not perfection. And the Apostle Paul didn't nail it every single day. He actually said this, when I'm doing wrong, I wish I was doing right. When I'm doing right, I'm thinking about doing wrong. Come on, anybody? Is that just me? Am I the only person like that? Like, he just says that you don't have to pretend. You don't have to pretend. I want to, before I show you this last clip, I do want to read one more verse to you. It was very, very encouraging to me. I blew over it in the last clip. But Psalms chapter 38, verse 9 says this, you know what I long for, Lord? You hear my every sigh. I got a God who hears my every sigh. I was at a church, and the guy used to say, Steve Bosch, used to say, do this. And I would do that. And he goes, that gift, that breath, it came from God. There's a song I'm listening to right now. One of the phrases says, I'm glad that I'm alive to tell the story about the goodness of God. Like, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be standing on this stage. I shouldn't be preaching the gospel because I've done things I shouldn't have done. I've said things I shouldn't have. I had this trajectory. My dad's like, this is what you're going to be. You're going to be a landscaper. Didn't sound very glorious in the hot sun in Florida, but you know what I'm saying? I was going to do it. I just had to get to a point where I quit pretending. If we all get to the point where we quit pretending, I think God can do some incredible things. Let's take a look at the finale of the movie. Well, he did the right thing in the very end. I love that last clip. And in the end of the movie, Aladdin does what's right. He chooses to free the genie. And then the genie, he chooses to travel with Jasmine's handmaid. And then Jasmine's dad, he chooses to let Jasmine be the sultan. And I want to let you know today that God has chosen you. God has chosen you. He has something so much greater for you. I wrote down this for your notes. The last thing I have for you today is you are chosen by God, and that's all the validation that you'll ever need. I found out in my life, and I think a lot of times in a lot of people's lives, is that we do what we do because we're looking for validation. The number one thing that we all want in life is to be accepted. I lived so confused. I was sitting on my bed, on the edge of my bed, at about November, just last November, and I was like, I cannot lead a church through this pandemic anymore. I was so tired. I wanted validation. I wanted someone to say, man, you're doing a good job, Wes. But I don't even know if I was doing a good job. Like, it was so hard. And I'm sure just like your pastor, we were thinking, this would be so much easier if somebody else was in charge. And I just want to encourage you. I think this church, I think pastors are dropping like flies every single day because they're not being encouraged. I don't think it's because of all the stuff that we see. There's a lot of things. We see a lot of things. The numbers, thousands of pastors are leaving the ministry every single month. Churches are being closed down. We're losing more ground than we are gaining. There's not enough. There's only one church for every 1,000 people in America, which means that church should be running 1,000. This church, I believe it's on its way because you guys are going to reach a lot of people. But I think pastors are quitting because they're so tired, and everyone's pulling out their leg, and we want it, and God's chose us, and we've signed up for it. But I just want to encourage you. Like, I hope that you are. It should be a competition for how much you encourage your leaders of this church. Not just Josh and Kaylee, but whoever you fall under a direct report. But it's tough. This is the toughest thing I've ever done. I was hoping like God would like. I was during the pandemic, Josh. I got a doorbell. Someone rang my doorbell, and I got there and it was Papa John's. And I thought, I would love that job right now. I would go to restaurants, and I thought to myself, I could hammer just saying, my pleasure. I could do that. I was like, God, I don't want to do. So I found myself in that, and then we started when that dumpster fire was going super high. In comes the racial stuff. It's flowing, and at that point I realized I was like, this is ridiculous, God. Enough's enough. My whole life I've wondered why I was the way I was, why I couldn't fit in anywhere, and then I finally realized that, man, God uniquely and wonderfully made me to be mixed, like the way He made me mixed, and I was stepping into spaces that I would have never stepped in before. Because I didn't know which side to step in on. I had no idea. Not even exactly sure. Now I stand with police officers as a chaplain, and I could speak to both sides of the story, both of the narratives. I get to do that. I was like, man, this is so cool. I'm getting a chance at doing this thing. And so as that thing is going sky high and that thing is just flowing, then we have to make things better, we had an election. I don't know if you guys, and that was not going. As you can imagine, you're leading a church, and we want these churches that are, we have every color, every tribe, every nation, every tongue, because that's what heaven's gonna be like. So we want everybody to be in there. So we're like, how am I gonna navigate this fire as this thing is just going crazy over here? And I said, God, I just can't. And God just reminded me through the sunset. He said, hey, Wes, I just need you to know that you're chosen by me, and that's all the validation that you need. Some of these people are the people at this dumpster fire. Some of them are going to like you, some are not going to like you. At this dumpster fire, some are going to like you, some are not going to like you. At this dumpster fire, and I couldn't get. He's like, you're not going to be able to get validation from all of them. But there is a place that we all can get validation. It's from Jesus. He's chose us. We're sons and in this room. We're sons and daughters. If you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, where you're watching at today, if you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, you're a son or you're a daughter. I can operate in sonship. The Bible says in this passage of scripture in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, but you are not like those people. You are chosen. You are a royal priest. You're a holy nation. You're God's very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for he called you out of the darkness and into his wonderful light. The enemy has been defeated, and nothing can hold you down. We can lift our voice in triumph. We can do all that now. We are free. We do have a testimony. Our testimony is that we're sons and daughters. We were chosen by God, and that's all the validation that we'll ever need. Because here's what I've learned. If you try to get validation from everybody, you're going to get validation by nobody. If you're trying to get validation from everybody, you're going to get validation from nobody. What we're going through right now in the history, literally everything that we see around us, it happened 60 years ago. 60 years ago. It's called a moral convulsion. In the World War, there was a war going on. There was a Hong Kong flu going on. It was the political unrest. President Kennedy was murdered. Talking about racial, the races. Martin Luther King murdered. Same time President Kennedy was. I mean, everything that we have 60 years ago, and 60 years before that, it was World War I, and the list goes on. You get the point. We're going to be in this thing for a while. That's not to scare you, but I believe this. While we're in it, let's be sons and daughters. Let's live free because we're chosen. Let's not look for validation from everybody. Let's rescue as many people as we can rescue while we're in this season. Because we're not guaranteed forever. James 4:14 says our life is a vapor. We're here today and we're gone tomorrow. Let's pull as many people, or let's rescue as many people from hell as we possibly can. I want to invite you to bow your head and close your eyes. We're so glad you came today. If it's your first time, or if you're watching online today, we want you to know we're glad you're here today. The greatest gift that we could give you today is not a box of popcorn or soda or candy. The greatest gift that we could give you today is the gift that it's not even the gift that we can give you. It's the gift that God wants to give you, and it's the free gift of salvation. If you're here today and you say, I don't even know what that means. It's relationship with Jesus. Like Jesus came, died, rose again 3 days later so that you could have relationship with him. He would love for you more than anything today to leave with relationship with him. Because with that relationship comes validation. With that relationship comes being a son. With that relationship, you're chosen. With that relationship, that you're a royal priesthood, you're a holy nation. And we'll explain all those things in series to come. But God, there's so much more for you with the relationship with God. So if you're here today and say, man, I would love that. A relationship with God, that sounds incredible. The Bible tells in Romans chapter 3, verse 23, that we've all sinned. We've all missed the mark. We've all fallen short. We've all done something that we shouldn't have done. We've all done that. Then it goes on to tell us because that we've done something wrong, there's a penalty for our sin or for that wrongdoing. And that penalty is complete separation from God. And when we have that separation from God, we find ourselves not being the real us. We find ourselves stuck and wandering and in the wilderness. We find ourselves separated from God. But the good news is the story doesn't end there. Every movie has an ending. And the ending in this movie, that there's a son named Jesus, and he dies on the cross, and he hangs there. They take him off a cross, he dies, they put him in a tomb for 3 days, and 3 days later he roses from that tomb. Supernatural, the power of God. The only God that ever claimed to resurrect from the dead is the Son of God, Jesus. He did that for you and did it for me. So if you're here today, like, man, I need that. Like, that sounds like something that I need. While your heads are bowed and your eyes closed, would you just say, dear Jesus, I admit that I'm a sinner. I know I've done wrong stuff. But today, Jesus, I believe that you died and that you rose again for my sins. Today, Jesus, I'm committing my life to you. You can have my life, Christ. And would you just say to him, Jesus, I need you. And then this is my favorite part. Would you say, thank you for saving me, Jesus? Thank you for allowing me to start this relationship with you, God. I needed that. There's a lot of you guys in here today, you call this church your church. This is my church or our church. You say something like that. Harbor's my church. These are my people. Hey, let's live in sonship. And when we're living in sonship, the world's going to notice. And when the world notices, we can bring more people into a relationship with Jesus Christ. We can connect more people who are far from God. We can help move them closer to God and all that he has for their life. And everything can change for those people like it changed for you. Jesus, we love you. We're so thankful today that we get the opportunity to be sons and daughters. We're so thankful today that when you came and you died and you rose again, that there wasn't a long waiting list of things that we had to do and check off. You just came and said, God, I love that. I love that. I love Wes. I love that young lady or that young man. I love them and I want to give them a better future. I want to give them a future in heaven with me. Something that nobody else can give them, no other God can give them. Lord, a relationship with you changes everything. Lord, I pray that today that this word would just be something that we all needed to hear. But Lord, make me something that we would all go out and live out. Lord, we love you and we thank you. In your name we pray.